Good morning to all participants. I am your presenter this morning. My name is LeTishma Smith. I am the Chief Tax Policy Analyst here at the Virgin Islands Bureau of Internal Revenue. And this morning's presentation, we will be discussing the updates of the 2023 W-4P. On behalf of our director, the Honorable Director Joel Lee, and our management and staff, we thank you for joining this morning's seminar. It is an informative seminar, and again, you could hold all questions until after the seminar. Today, we will be discussing the new W-4 form. You will learn how to complete the form, the reason we are here today, and we will have a simple example for you to complete the form. So I know you are retired, but we are going to do some simple calculations. So if you have a piece of paper, pen and pencil, and a calculator, we are going to begin. And of course, before the example portion, I'm going to give each individual an opportunity to retrieve the calculators and the pencils so we could do the simple calculation. The W-4P form. Why should you complete this form? You should prepare a W-4P form to inform GERS how much tax to withhold from your pension based on your filing status, your pension amounts, and the anticipated tax credits and deductions you may have for your tax filings. The redesign. We are here today because the IRS redesigned the W-4P form. The reason for the design is because of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act overhaul. So with the tax changes, there are no longer any personal exemptions or dependency exemptions that you file on your income tax return. Therefore, the redesign needed to take place. The redesign makes it easier for you to have your withholdings match your tax liability. On the screen, we have the redesign of the W-4P form for 2023. And within this seminar, I'm going to have the steps for you, steps 1 through step 5. The individuals in the office on the St. Thomas and St. Croix, you might have the form in front of you, but all the individuals on Zoom, the form is on the screen. Please follow along. Again, if you have any questions, you could place it in the chat and Ms. Asia Clendenin-Gums will alert me to the question that you have. W-4P, how to prepare the form. On your W-4P form for 2023, step 1 is your personal information. In box A, you're going to include your first name and your middle initial. On your you're going to also include your last name. Your social security number goes in box B. Your address. Your address is your mailing address. The mailing address that you receive your mail is where you're going to put the address. Your city, state, and zip code. Box C talks about the filing status. Your filing status is very important in GERS determining exactly how much withholdings from your pension amounts. We have the 5 different filing statuses on the screen, and I'll go through each one so you could be sure that you select the correct filing status for your tax. Single. If on the last day of the year, you are unmarried or you are legally separated from your spouse, you do not qualify for any other credit other than the single status. So you are going to check the box single. If you are married filing separate on the last day of the tax year, you and your spouse could determine if you're going to file a joint return or if you are going to file a separate return. If you determine that you're going to file a separate return, you are going to select the married filing separate box. The married filing separate box allows you to separate your income and all credit and deductions. Married filing jointly. If you and your spouse determines that it's better for you to file a joint return and include all income and credits, you are going to select this box. Qualifying surviving spouse. In the year of 2022, if your spouse died and you have a qualifying child under the age of 17, you could select this box. Again, your spouse would have died in 2022 and you have a child or a dependent relative under the age of 19 years old, and you have provided over 50% or more of that child's support. Head of household. If you are unmarried at the end of the tax year and you have a qualifying child under the age of 19 or a student under the age of 24, you could claim these credits. Again, once you're claiming these credits, I advise you to seek assistance from your tax preparer to determine the perfect filing status for you. That was step one of the W-4 form. If your pension income is only from GERS and no other pension income, you are going to complete step one and you are going to sign and date the form. This form is not valid unless it is signed. So if your pension income is only GERS income, you're going to place your name, your social, your mailing address, and you're going to select the perfect filing status for you. Sign, date, and submit the form to GERS. It is that simple. However, there are taxpayers or retirees with additional income and more complex tax situations, and that's why the form has step 2 to step 4. I am going to explain step 2 to step 4, but again, for the individuals where your pension income is only GERS income, step 1, you'll enter your personal information, select the filing status, sign, date, and submit the form as soon as possible. If you're a taxpayer with more complex tax situations, we have step 2 and step 4. I urge you to speak to your tax preparer in filling these portions of the form out, so we have the best tax withholding for you. Step 2, if you have any other pension from GERS, you could fill out the information on this form. B1, if you have a job and you did not complete a W-4 and there are no withholdings being removed from that income, you would place the taxable annual income on B1. So we do have retirees who have part-time jobs or volunteer, and they have income that's not being taxed or not withheld. You will place the taxable annual amount on box B1. Box B2, if you have any other pension amounts, GERS might not be your only pension and annuity amount that you receive, but it's not taxed, you will put the annual pension and annuities tax amount on B2. On B3, you will include the total amount and submit the form to GERS if that is the only additional income that you have. Step 3, dependents. If you are a retiree and you have a qualifying child under the age of 17, the child tax credit is applicable to you. The child tax credit is for any dependents under the age of 17. So if you have one child under the age of 17, on the first line on the screen, you will place $2,000. If you have 2 kids under the age of 17, you will place $4,000. On the multiple line for the other dependents, there is a credit on your income tax return if you have other dependents that qualify for a $500 credit. Again, if your dependent is over the age of 18 and they qualify for the other dependent credit, you are going to place $500 there. Again, Parts 2, 3, and 4 is for taxpayers who have complex tax situations other than just GERS pension income. Step 4, other than GERS income, if you have any additional income that tax is not being withheld from, and you would like the tax to be withheld from your GERS pension, you will complete this portion. Again, this portion is optional to you. So if you're receiving any Social Security benefits, any other interest, or any dividends, you are going to place the total annual amount received on box 4A. Box 4C, if you have any additional income, whether it might be rental income or any taxable income, and you would want GRS to include extra withholdings to be removed from your pension, you would include that amount on box 4C. Again, box 4, sections 2 to sections 4 is optional. Step 5, as I indicated initially, this form is not valid unless it is signed and dated by the retiree. So once the form is completed, please ensure that the form is signed before submitting to the GRS locations on the island of St. Thomas or St. Croix. So I explained steps 1 to step 5 of the W-4P form, and I'm going to give another run through on how to complete the form. Step 1, you're going to enter your personal information, your name, social, mailing address, and you're going to select the filing status applicable to you. Step 2, if you have other income from GRS, you could place the annual amounts received on step 2. B1 is any other jobs that you have not completed a W-4 for. B2 is any other pensions that you receive that tax is not being withheld from. Step 3, dependents. If you have any dependents under the age of 17 and they qualify for the child tax credit, you would include $2,000 on the first line. If you have any other dependents that's eligible for the $500 credit, you will include $500. The sum of that amount will be placed on section 3. Step 4 is optional. If you have Social Security income and you would like GRS to withhold more taxes from your pension amounts, you would include the annual Social Security or any annual amounts on line 4A. Or if you want to include just $500 extra of withholdings from your pension, that amount will be on 4C. You would sign the form. Step 5.
What's the deadline to turn these forms in?
You will sign the form, date, and submit the form to GRS on St. Thomas and on St. Croix. Before we enter our example, do we have any questions on form W-4P?
Yes, I would like to I have a question regarding the personal information. What if you're a widow? If you're a widow and you're like head of your household, I would be single?
If you're a widow and you do not have a dependent under the age of 19, yes, you would be deemed single.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Smith, I have several questions in the chat and I want to go through them for the benefit. And if anybody has a new question after you provide us these answers, they'll have an opportunity to do so. So, and some of the questions are mixed for GRS and you, Ms. Smith. So I'll just read them all.
Okay.
I've relocated to the States. So when filling out the form, what information would I put? You would put your stateside address, the address that you're getting your mail from. Your pension comes from the GRS in St. Thomas, but we are aware you're a retiree. You can live anywhere for a few months. You're visiting your children, or where you are permanently and where you file your taxes, your, what do you call it, your residence. That's the address that you would use. If you're just visiting your children for 2 months, but your residence is still here in the Virgin Islands, you would put that address. Next question. And if I'm wrong, Ms. Smith, you just respectfully disagree. Thank you. The next question is, how should you file it? We would like them submitted to us no later than the end of February, sooner if you can get it in. You can send it via email. You could send it in the mail. You can come to the St. Thomas or St. Croix office and drop it off. We are accepting everything. Make sure your signature is legible, and the date. If your signature differs totally from when you first retired, please include an ID for us with a signature so we can make sure it is you. There's a question about, what if you're a widow, Ms. Smith? What would you click if you're a widow? What would you check in box 1C?
If you are a widow and you do not have a dependent under the age of 19, you would select single.
Okay, thank you so much. And we know the age for qualifying children is 17.
Under the age of 17, if your dependent is a college age student, it's under the age of 24.
What if you don't file taxes? Because all you get is GRS, so you just don't file taxes at all. Is that okay?
If your pension, if the income that you receive is only your pension income, and your total pension income is under the standard deduction, you do not have to file those taxes. If your total income is over the standard deduction amount, you have to file taxes. The standard deduction amount is based on your filing status. So whether you filed single, married filing separate, married filing joint, qualifying surviving spouse, or head of household, if your income is above the standard deduction amount for that tax year, you should be filing a tax return with the Virgin Islands Bureau of Internal Revenue.
Ms. Smith, what about if I have a pension from the GRS and I get Social Security? Do I fill out one form for GRS and the same form for Social Security? How do I handle my Social Security benefits with my GRS pension?
Great question. If you would like to withhold taxes from your Social Security benefits, you would complete a W-4V form. The W-4V form is a voluntary withholding request form, and that form is submitted to the Social Security Administration. The withholdings from the GRS pension, you will complete the W-4P form and submit that to the GERS.
I have a question.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, from St. Croix, where do we pick up this form and drop it off?
The forms are located on the island at the Bureau's offices in the St. Thomas, St. John, and St. Croix district. The forms are also located at the GRS locations. And before the presentation ends, I will instruct you on how to download the form on IRS website, which is irs.gov.
Okay, we have to sign it. So where we drop it back off? To the CM, to GERS or to IRB?
GERS.
GERS.
The pensions are paid through GRS, so the form needs to be submitted to GRS.
Okay, you have a very fine presentation. Thank you. Very clear, very understandable.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I have another question. Oh, I have 23 more. So can you please go over step 2? If married and filing jointly, or married and filing separately?
Okay, that question isn't clear. Would you like me to discuss the difference in the filing status, or
Yes.
if you file a joint return, including the income and deductions?
Both.
Great. So if you and your spouse determines that it is better for you to file a joint return, all income and all deductions will be filed on your income tax return. So you would select the married filing jointly option in step 1, box C. Once you file your income tax return, please include you and your spouse's income, and your tax preparer will better inform you of any credits or any deductions applicable to you.
Thank you. Again, the deadline to submit, we're asking for them back by the end of February or sooner if you can. You drop off the completed form to the GERS buildings. You can email it to our customer care at usvigers.com. You can call our numbers for that information. You can mail it in to us. Those are the completed forms. Blank forms are available at IRB, GERS, or you can download them also. Whether you're St. Thomas, St. John, or St. Croix, if you live in the States, those methods of getting the completed form back to us would be the same. GRS is already deducting taxes from my income, Ms. Smith. Why do I have to complete another form?
Great. Because of the changes in the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, we advise you to complete a new W-4 to ensure that your tax liability and your withholdings are as close as possible. This would prevent, at the end of the tax year, a large tax liability. So I urge you to complete a new W-4P form.
So I'm getting social and GRS. Just to be clear, I must fill out step 2 and step 4 because I'm getting social and GRS?
No, W-4P is for GERS. If you are receiving Social Security income, and when you file your return at the end of the year, you have a tax liability. If you would like GERS to withhold more taxes, you could complete step 4. If you would like Social Security to withhold the taxes, you would prepare W-4V and submit that form to the Social Security Administration.
Question, can I ask a question, please?
Of course.
What if, because when I retired, I made sure I went in and I filled out the form, I did what I had to do. And I always do a 0 dependent, even though the children were in school, et cetera, et cetera. So what do I do about that at this time? Do I still go use the 0? Because I do that for my benefit. So at the end of the tax year, I do not have this big liability over my head, you know?
Great.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you for your question. Because of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, there is no personal exemptions. That is a reason for the redesign of the form.
Okay.
So where you are accustomed of putting 0 or 5, you are no longer able to put 0 or 5. Your withholdings will be calculated based on your pension amount. That is the reason for the redesigned form. Once you prepare and submit the form, GRS would withhold the taxes based on your filing status and your pension amount.
Okay, thank you. That's understandable.
So if you already have a tax deducted from your Social Security, they're already deducting taxes from your Social Security. You don't have to put that amount in step 4.
No.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, I have a question. I see that the email said that there'll be some changes in your, I guess, your annuity amount that you receive because of this change in the form.
Correct. So the
Okay,
change in form now changes. It's a new tax year. Tax rates change. Your tax status might have changed. You might have been married, filing joint, but now this year you're single. So once you update your filing status, your tax rates change. So based on the changes that you make to this form will change the amount that you receive in your pensions biweekly.
Okay, and I have another question not applicable to myself. What happens to those people who don't know about this meeting that you had or doesn't even know about these changes? Because we have a lot of older people that are getting their retirement and they don't know nothing or probably won't be able to download a form or any of that sort. What would happen to them?
Once we arrive to the deadline of end of February, forms that we do not have back for the pensioners, we have over 8,700 of them, then we would begin the outreach to do it. But your tax liability, what you had from before, it will continue on the same in the system. The IRS created this form to more accurately estimate your tax liability. So it wouldn't be a mass amount of money on either end, they owing you or you owing them.
Okay, thank you very much.
Welcome. Our address, it's on our website. If you go to our website, the address to mail back the form is there. You can put it attention to customer care. Again, if you email customercare@usvigers.com, they can send you a form. You can call us at 340-693-3939. That's a direct, and I'll have someone, Ms. Akita, to put that information in the chat. You can call us directly and not go through the switchboard. So they can talk to you about it. Again, the GRS cannot provide tax advice to you. That's why we have the chief here. We provide the form, the address for you to send it back. So yes, the form could be filled out online, but your signature and date needs to be a wet signature and date, and then you can get that back to us. Vona asked, what is the benefit of having more withholding?
Please repeat the phone number. Please repeat that direct phone number.
Correct, and Ms. Freeman will put it in the chat. The direct phone number is 340-693-3939, and that's direct to the GERS customer service.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Another question, sorry. I always go to the IRS building to fill it up the tax forms, but you are hearing that you said this one have to be returned before, in the month of February. That means I can't go to the IRS to fill it out like I always do?
The Internal Revenue Bureau does not assist the public with filling out W-4P forms. We do
I go
have
Saturdays. The Saturdays they have the time for
correct.
the
We do have a taxpayer assistance program on Saturdays where retirees are able to come into our office and we assist with the preparation of your 1040.
But that means this one is, there's not gonna be able to do it over there then?
No, we could answer general questions as it relates to the form and how to complete the form. But again, everyone's tax situation is different, so we could only give general information. As indicated prior, you could include your personal information on step 1, select the filing status that's applicable to you, and you could use the filing status based on what is on your 2021 return, sign, date the form, and submit it to the GRS, your GRS location.
Okay, thank you.
You are.
Hi, good morning. I have a question.
Go ahead.
My question is there a website that can tell me where the under standard deduction is? Where did it start from? Or can you tell me that now?
The standard deduction amounts is located on www.irs.gov. We are a mirror code system, so we use the same rates as the Internal Revenue Service. So all tax information could be located on www.irs.gov.
Question.
Thank you.
One moment, I have Ben Nazero, Coconut Creek, has a question, has his hand raised.
My
Ben?
question is regarding step 4. Do I need to fill out 4A if I fill out B and C, or can I leave 4A out?
For A, B, and C is different. So 4A is if you have any other income other than pension, annuities, or any income from a job, you would include that annual income there. So whether you receive income from Social Security, any dividend income, any interest income that is not being tax withheld, you could place the annual amount on 4A. And based on that amount, GRS will withhold the annual amount for those. B is any other deductions that you may have other than the standard deduction.
And that would be a flat amount?
Excuse me?
That would be a flat amount?
No, it would not be. So let's say that you, instead of using the basic standard deduction, if you itemized your deductions, if you have any charitable contributions, any mortgage interest, any medical expenses, those are deducted on the Schedule A. So that those deductions total will be in 4B. Again, I don't think that you would personally know the amounts for those deductions. Your tax preparer will better understand that portion and could better assist you with it.
Okay,
Step
fine.
C is if you would like to withhold, let's say $100, $200 extra from your GRS withholdings, you would place that extra withholding amount in 4C.
Okay, we'll see, extra.
I have a question.
Thank you, Ben, for
Thank
your
you.
question.
Thank
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm still a little confused about where the Social Security benefit would be placed. Okay, if I'm getting a Social Security, I have taxes being withheld. So where would I put that, in 2B, 2, or in 4A? That's what I need clarification on.
Okay, so my question is tax being withheld on your Social Security benefits?
Yes.
If taxes are being withheld from your Social Security benefits, you do not need to include that information on this form W-4P.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
It's if you weren't deducting any taxes from your Social Security benefits and you wanted GRS to deduct extra withholdings from your pension from them, you would include the annual amount from Social Security on box 4A. But if Social Security is already deducting withholdings from your Social Security pension, you do not need to include any Social Security income amounts on this form W-4P before you submit it to GRS.
Thank you very much.
Let me
You are-
clarify before anybody else asks a question. Again, if you're signing the form and your signature looks completely different from when you first retired, it's very important that you copy your unexpired government issued ID. And yes, you can email those both things into us, mail it into us, or drop it into us. February, the end of February is our deadline. Please know the tax tables within our system, they have already been updated to reflect this new form. That's why we want you to fill out the form so we can make sure we're accurately calculating the taxes you want withheld. If you never fill out the form, the system itself makes that conversion from whatever it is you had, the 2 to 3, and it puts it into this new system. But that's the system doing it. And we want you to do it for yourself, telling us how much tax you want withheld. I just want to make that clarification. And I have 43 more messages that persons put in the chat from the first time we started at 11:19. So if you allow me, let me go through the messages, and that may answer a question that someone has to ask. I'm going to allow Ms. Smith to answer them. And after that, if you have any ones that we did not answer after these 44, then you'll be able to do that. This is being recorded and we'll put it on the website. We'll try to replay it on station so people can hear it. The next question, if your wife—
I do have one question to piggyback off of that last question before you go any further, just for clarification. So if you already have your withholding is already being deducted from your Social Security, and I'm just asking this for clarification, on this W-4P form, you just need to basically fill out step 1. And if you do not want GRS to withhold anything extra, it is just step 1 for that person to fill out and return back to you. Am I correct?
And
Step 1 and step 5, sign and date and submit it to GRS, correct.
All right, no problem. Thank you.
Welcome. What if your wife claims your underage child as their dependent? Your wife claims your underage child as their dependent. What would they put here on this form?
The wife or the
wife. The wife
retiree?
claims an underage child as their dependent.
The wife should seek assistance from their tax preparer to ensure that the steps 3 and step 4 is completed to determine the accurate withholdings is being withheld from the GRS system.
Thank you. I always file
It's
joint.
not a clear-cut answer to that question because everyone's tax situation is different.
And we're not here to give tax advice. Good.
Correct.
I always file jointly with my husband, and he is still working. Do I fill out this form?
As a retiree, you complete W-4P form. If you file married filing joint, you will select married filing joint. If you file married filing separate, you will select that option, sign and date. Because your spouse is still working, they would have a W-4 for their employer, and the withholdings will be removed from their employer's wages.
Thank you. If you have guardianship over a retiree due to illness, can you fill out the form for the retiree for us? If you have legal guardianship and the paperwork is filed within GERS and approved, yes, you may. The mailing address to fill it out should be in the chat at the end. What if I have a Roth IRA? Do I have to include it in this form?
No, you do not have to include it on this form.
What about if I have a dependent that's disabled and over 18?
If you have a dependent that's disabled and over 18, that dependent would qualify you for the other dependent credit. So in box 3, where it says multiply the number of other dependents by 500, if it's one dependent, you would include 500 on the second line.
GERS and Social Security are already taking out taxes for me. Do I still have to complete this form?
I think it's beneficial for you to complete the form to ensure that the accurate withholding is being deducted from your pension due to the changes in the tax rates.
Should retirees include the required information for 2022 on the 2023 form?
That is not clear. Which required information?
You're filling out this 2023 form with 2023 information because 2022 was already gone, correct?
Correct.
Correct. So this is for future.
Correct.
Thank you.
Withholdings from today until you change the form.
So
Because you could adjust the form if you, at December 29, you could be single all year. December 29, December 30th, you decide I want to get married before the ball drops and you say Happy New Year. You are married at that point. You could go into GRS and fill out a new W-4P form and determine if you are going to file married filing separate or married filing joint. Please update the form once your financial situation or your filing status change. It would ensure that the correct amount of withholdings is being deducted to avoid a huge tax liability on April 15th.
So if I'm getting Social Security, I'm getting another pension, my Roth IRA, my military, all those other sources of income, but they're taking out taxes on those already. Step 1 and step 5 is all I need to fill out.
Correct.
Okay. Again, repeat where to mail the form, they post the address in the chat. This is a long one. If you've worked in the States, so I now have income from both the Virgin Islands and Virginia. Do I submit this tax form to you, then file taxes in Virginia? Or do I allow my tax attorney to file all with the IRS?
Income from whatever source is derived is taxable. Because you are receiving pension from GRS, I would urge you to update your W-4P form. Once you receive your W-2s and 1099s from the pension and your wages, the W-2, I would urge you to go into your preparer, submit the forms, and your preparer would complete a 1040 and file it at the respective agency.
Thank you. What about the interest credit union sends me and the bank sends me from my dividends and my broker account? Do I have to put that on this form?
No, you do not have to put it on your form, but you do have to file it on your 1040.
Hi. So let me kind of sum this up for my understanding. So this WP4 is only if you want extra taxes to be taken out from what you're getting from GRS. And if you do not want anything extra taken out from GRS additional that they're giving you, I just do the personal information and sign number 5.
Correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does each spouse getting an annuity submit a separate form?
Yes. Each spouse have to complete the form, sign date, and submit it to GRS.
So if I don't have any changes, like the young lady said, I still have to complete this new form?
Yes, because you might not know that you might have any changes, but based on any updated information, it might change the taxable amount. You should complete a new W-4P form and submit it to GRS. Again, 2023 tax rates has changed, and GRS want to ensure that the amount that they are withholding is as close to your tax liability as possible. I urge you to complete the form and submit it as soon as possible.
And those completed forms, again, it will be attention to our customer service unit. Or you can email it to customer care at usvigers.com or drop it off at any of our locations, not IRB, the GRS locations. If I'm a permanent resident in the States, I've moved to the States, do I still need to file taxes in St. Croix?
I would tell that taxpayer that once they submit their information to their tax preparer will determine exactly where they should be filing. It's based on their primary domicile, where their primary domicile is.
Okay.
Again, I will refer that question to a tax preparer because I am not able to determine all worldwide income received from that taxpayer.
Okay. How do you enter an amount for an additional income if it varies yearly? Do I enter an annual amount for the previous tax year? Or how do I enter the information on this year?
It depends on the income. If your income varies from a wage earner, a job, if you receive a W-2, I do not feel that you should put that amount on this W-4P form because your employer would withhold the amounts. So if you have a hourly job, allow that employer to withhold the appropriate amount of taxes from your income. The W-4P form is for any pension amounts from GRS and also any other pension amounts that is not taxable. If those pension amounts are not being withheld, any taxes are being withheld from those, and you would like GRS to withhold more taxes to avoid a huge tax liability at the end of the year, you would complete the W-4P form. If your Social Security, your interest, any other income, if they are already withholding taxes, you do not have to put that information on this form.
All right. What are the hours on Saturday for taxpayer assistance?
Taxpayer assistance on the island of St. Thomas, St. Croix, and St. John is from 9 to 1. The taxpayer assistance program is going to begin on the last Saturday in February, and it would run on the Saturday before April 15th. Also, the taxpayer assistance program will not be available during the Easter holidays.
Okay. Can you repeat the W-4 form relative to having Social Security taxes withheld?
Sure. The W-4 form that you would submit to Social Security Administration is W-4V as in Victor, and it's the voluntary withholding request form.
Okay. If you missed this year's filing date, can you correct this next year?
Correct the W-4P form.
Yes.
The W-4P form could be updated at any time. Once your tax information changes, you could update the form.
What about the
There's
money?
not-
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, sorry, go ahead.
What about the monies that was given from the government for prior service, retro. Do I put that money on here?
No,
No.
no.
Okay, thank you.
Now I missed
Any-
my thought. Well, excuse me, good morning. Where can we get the form W-4? It's V, you said, for Social Security. Where can we find those forms?
W-4V could be downloaded from our IRS counterparts website, www.irs.gov. You could also www.irs.gov, G-O-V.
Yeah. So
You could also receive the form from the Social Security Administration office.
Hen St. Thomas.
Yes,
Hen St. Thomas? Okay.
yes,
okay,
ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
What?
Excuse me, I'm not done on the form where you said we should be putting the amounts. Would that be for the my goodness, no, I lost my thought. But anyway, from the money you're receiving for retirement, you're gonna put the annual amount in that in line. What line is that? Compute.
No, if you are receiving your pension from GRS, you
right.
are not going to put any annual amount. You are going to complete step 1,
And
select
step
your
five.
filing status, sign the form, date,
Okay,
and submit it
thank
to
you.
GRS.
Thank you. I was going to ask also, would GRS be available, the payroll section that we go to sometimes right before the pandemic? Would anybody be available to discuss anything with anyone? You don't know that? Anybody on for GRS on there?
Yes, I am. And we are not able to give any tax advice in completing the form or how to do it. And that's why we had IRB do this and we recorded it so we can replay it for persons. We are there to accept the forms.
I wasn't talking about do I help you with a form. I wanted to know if anyone has any question regarding the filing of this form with you, if there's anybody available that anybody can speak to. That's all I'm asking.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
340-693-3939. What if I live in the BVI? Mr. Cardi, do you have a question?
3939.
3939, okay.
Okay, 693-3939. What if I live in the You're welcome. What if I live in the BVI and don't have any taxes withheld from my annuity because I'm not required to file taxes in the BVI? Do I still have to fill out this form?
You should fill out the form. Yes, ma'am.
And what is the tax rate that GRS will be using?
We do have an example where we go over the tax rates. And once we get to that portion of today's presentation, I will discuss the tax rates at that time.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, go ahead and.
Where can we pick up the forms again? The GRS?
Yes, you can pick up the
Okay.
forms at GRS, at
Okay,
IRB, or if you contact us, we can email it to you, but the forms are available for your pickup at our locations.
I will pick it up at the location, ma'am. Thank you. 'Cause
You're welcome. St.
as we
Thomas
get
or
age,
St.
I have to depend on my daughter to help me out here. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Ms. Smith, you may continue.
Thank you so much for your questions. At this time, we do have an example. Initially, of course, I said if you have your calculators, if you have a pen or pencil and paper, we are going to calculate an individual's withholding. And that way you would see exactly when you complete the W-4P form, how it affects your taxes.
I'm going to jump in with one more quick question. If you're taking care of an elderly individual, can you list them as a dependent?
Sorry, I didn't hear the question.
If you're taking care of an elderly individual, can you list them as a dependent?
On the new W-4P forms, there is no room for personal or dependency exemption. The W-4P is only for wages and your filing status.
Thank you for your response.
You're welcome. So we have an example on the screen. I love examples. So our example states, Ms. Morgan is a retiree, and Ms. Morgan submitted a new 2023 Form W-4P. Ms. Morgan is single and she does not need to complete steps 2 to 4. Her annual annuity amount is $25,000. So if you have a pen and a piece of paper, you are going to write down that she is single. She does not need to complete steps 2 and 4, and her annuity amount is $25,000 annually. So when Ms. Morgan completes this form, now Ms. Morgan is retired, she want to go on a cruise and she wants to submit this form before she tells us bon voyage, we are going to help her complete the form. Ms. Morgan is going to put her first name in box A, her last name, her social security number. In the address portion, she is going to put the address that she receives her mail. Whether it be P.O. Box or your physical address is wherever Ms. Morgan receives her mail, she will put her mailing address. Ms. Morgan indicated to us that she is single. So in step 1, part C, she will select the single option. She also indicated to us that she does not need to complete steps 2, 3, or 4. So in step 5, Ms. Morgan will sign the form and date the form. Again, this form is not valid unless it is signed. So we have helped Ms. Morgan complete her W-4P form. Now we are going to talk about tax rates and how the annuity amount, will be withheld. I hope everyone could see the screen. So I think someone put some green stuff on the screen. So Ms. Morgan has $25,000 annually. She is single. The portion that's highlighted indicates that Ms. Morgan's tax rate is 12%. The ordinary tax rates based on your income goes from 10% to 37% for 2023. So if you have your piece of paper, we are going to place $25,000 is how much Ms. Morgan receives in her annuity. If her income is at least $16,250, but less than $49,975, Ms. Morgan's tentative withholding amount will be $1,100 annually. So the $1,100 is her tentative amount that will be withheld from her pension amount. But Ms. Morgan falls in the 12% tax bracket. Therefore, any annual amount that is over $16,250 will be taxed on 12% tax rate. So we have our calculators. We are going to deduct $16,250 from $25,000. If you are calculating with me, you would have $8,750 in an additional amount to be taxed. But Ms. Morgan is on the 12% tax rate. So the $8,750 would have a 12% tax. So her additional withholding will be $1,050. So the $1,050 will be added to her tentative amount, which is a $1,100. We are calculating. So her yearly withholding amount will be $2,150. Now, this is if you would like to do all the calculations, but the IRS is simplified. And of course, once you were in school, you knew that once you complete a math problem, you have to check your math. So we're going to check our maths right now. Her tentative amount to withhold was the $1,100 as we saw in the prior screen. she had $25,000 in her annual annuity amount, but of course, her minimum was $16,250. $8,750 was her additional amount. She fell under the 12% tax bracket. So an additional amount of tax to be withheld was $1,050. So Ms. Morgan's total withholdings was $2,150. So if you calculated this with me, we calculated Ms. Morgan's total withholdings for the year. GRS is biweekly. So every 2 weeks, Ms. Morgan's annuity will be reduced by $89.58 for her tax withholdings.
Wow.
Yes, so if you do not know anything about taxes, you could say on this webinar, you successfully completed a taxpayer's withholding amount. We are going to check.
Could you put that up for 1 second? I was
Okay.
doing, yeah, 1 second.
Okay.
Excuse me, where did you get a tentative 100 from?
I'm going to go back to,
Okay, thank
okay,
you.
if you, Ms. Morgan's pension amount is $25,000.
Yes.
So her amount is at least $16,250, but less than the $49,975. So her tentative amount is the $1,100. It is highlighted on the screen.
I see it, yeah. I see it.
Okay, great.
And for retirees, they're bi-monthly.
Okay.
Thank you.
They're by my, yes, by, oh yeah, by monthly.
Okay, the information that we downloaded, all of the pages, there were 69 pages that were downloaded, right? So it showed 2019 and before. So we should only look at those tables that say 2020 or later. Don't pay any attention to the ones that say 2019 or before.
2019 and before is if a new W-4 was not prepared. But after this seminar, you are going to complete a new W-4P. So you are going to look at the tax tables that says 2020 and correct.
I have a question, please. Can you hear me?
I could vaguely hear you.
So, is this better?
Yes.
In the previous screen where the amount was from 16,000 to 49. And so the person is gonna pay 1,100. Yes, right there. So if the amount that you receive is between 16 and 49, this person is receiving 25. And so they are supposed to pay 1,100. Why is the additional amount?
But true.
I just thought, yeah, I didn't get that part. Why are we
Okay,
still getting an
additional amount?
The one of we slow.
There is an additional amount of tax to be withheld because based on the amount of pension Ms. Morgan received, she falls within the 12% tax bracket.
It's too much talking. Let the lady speak, please.
Go ahead, Ms. Smith.
Great. There's an additional tax amount because Ms. Morgan annuity amount is $25,000. Because she falls in the 12% tax bracket, that's where the additional withholding amount comes in. It's all based on your annual amounts. If you look at the top, if you're 0 to 5,250, there's no tentative withholdings, there are no adjusted withholdings. If you're between 5,250 and 16,250, there is no tentative amount, but you do fall under the 10% tax bracket. So based on your total income, it's all based on which tax bracket you fall under. The tax brackets this year are 10% to 37%.
On the
Well,
on the top of the form, as if you're looking at the screen, I'm going to attempt to circle it. It says at least, less than, plus this percentage. Does everybody see that? I'm sorry, I didn't draw a good circle. But that's where the extra is coming from. If you were following the form for the IRS. So it's at least this, but less than this, and the tentative amount plus this percentage. So the example follows this exact formula.
Question, please. I know you may not be able to answer me because I'm really disgruntled about aged people paying taxes. I know we have to pay for our houses and things like that. But why do you work and you pay your taxes over the years? Why do we still have to tax our retirement? That is so unconscionable, I think. That's only my thought.
I understand, but based on the Internal Revenue Code, pension income is taxable. All income from whatever sources derived is taxable. Of course, I'm going to answer based on what the book says, but
Yes, ma'am.
that is
Understood,
the law.
understood, and the law, but I still think it's unconscionable. That's only me.
I have a question. May I ask a question?
Of course.
Yes, I look at this. I have no problem with these calculations because I have been a payroll person for years and I know the tables. But my concern is that you're going to take $89.58 out of my annuity now. But suppose previously, based on my exemptions, etc., you were only taking out $50. How am I going to manage my expenses with that other $49.58? Huh? Hello?
Could you repeat, ma'am?
Go ahead, ma'am.
No, what I'm saying is, I have no problem with the calculation, but what I'm concerned with is that you are going to take out $89.58 from the example that you show. Previously, before this form was completed, you were taking out $50 out of my annuity bi-monthly.
Oh, ma'am,
Now,
this is an
whereas
example for Miss Morgan. This is not.
I know that, but I'm saying this is reality.
Okay.
It's an example, but it's reality for those of us who are in the taxes situation. We know it's reality. So you are taking out an additional $49 out of my monies as a retiree that lives on a fixed income. Where do I expect to fill in that additional $49? That's what I don't understand. There are no exemptions on this form, and so you don't have any dependent on the form or anything. So you are going in there and taking out this $89.58 for me because that's the law. But as a retiree, previously all was taken out of my money was $50. So now you are going to be whacking me with an additional $49.58, rounded to an additional $50. Where do I get this additional $50 every month?
Okay, so I'll respond. Miss Morgan's withholding probably was already $89. We were just giving an example on how.
I know that, but that's the realities of life.
Correct. So when you submit
without any exemptions, if I don't have any exemption, I don't have anybody as to be dependent on me. I have no dependent. So if you go in there, suppose previously I had dependent, and now I can't put anybody's name or any number of dependent on this form. What's happening to a retiree, somebody who lives on a fixed income, and you are taking $50 more every pay period out of my check? Where am I going to make up this additional $100? That's what I don't understand. That's my concern.
The withholding amount would not change. This was just an example. So prior to updating the W-4P form, Ms. Morgan probably, withholding, sorry, probably would have been $89. There's no vast change with completing this form. The example was to show you when you complete the W-4P form, what happens on the back end. So if your withholdings were $50, even if you're updating the form, once your filing status does not change, the amounts would probably be the same.
Thank you.
Again, once you receive your 1099 and you speak to your tax preparer, they will be better able to assist you. But I do not see a vast change or a big change with any withholdings just by completing or updating a W-4P form.
Thank you, Ms. Marilyn, for your questions.
No,
Ms.
no,
Smith.
but what I want to say one thing. You don't see a vast change if I don't have any dependent. If I didn't have any dependent previously, but if I had dependent previously and I was getting exemption for those dependent, there is going to be a change. You're talking to a person who prepares taxes. There is going to be a change on this form. And then when you look at it, what's going to happen is that the person who lives on a fixed income, it is going to affect us if you're going to change. For instance, say I had 2 or 3 people that were dependent and they're no longer on this form. So then what's going to happen to me? Quite naturally, more is going to be deducted out of my income.
I think so.
You understand what I'm
Thank
saying?
you. Yes.
Yeah, and you don't need
Thank you,
you
Ms.
don't need to be in the IRB to figure this out. This is simple mathematics. That I don't have anybody now, so I'm just in there all by myself, single with no dependent. So of course I'm going to pay more taxes.
You are absolutely correct, Ms. Marilyn.
Yes.
If you don't have the deductions, if you don't have children under 17, you don't get that child tax credit, you don't have all those.
I don't
And
have
you have the
anything to get.
standard deductions without any itemization for anything additional or any child tax or earned income credit. You don't have any of that. Your tax rate will be as this table that the IRS issued, that will be your tax rate. Now, Ms. Smith, where can we find these tables for ourselves? Can you tell us that? Where we can look up the tables for ourselves?
The tables are located in publication 15T as in Tom.
Thank you so much. So as we wrap up for today, this recording will be available. We will put it on our YouTube channel. I am going to try to get a station to play it on the Government Access channel. We'll try to do this again. We're asking for the forms by the end of February because the new tax rates and tables are in our system on the January 31st. Paycheck, your annuity, you might see a slight difference. Customer service again at 340-693-3939. They are available to get a copy of the form to you, receive back those forms and answer those basic questions. Any tax preparing information, advice, you can contact your tax preparer. And I know that the IRB does offer some assistance on Saturdays, as was brought to our attention. And this W-4P form is for the forward tax year, not the tax year that's just going. And I had a question about 1099s that our payroll team is diligently working on those to issue those by hopefully the date as allowable by law. Again, I want to thank Ms. LeTishma Smith. She has done a phenomenal job answering all those questions and going through this information for you. For persons that were not able to join this, again, it'll be out there for them to replay. Ms. Smith, again, thank you from GRS. Do you have any closing words?
Hello.
Ms. Blackman?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay.
So am I to understand that you could only check the head of household section if you have a somebody dependent on you?
If you have a qualifying child or a qualifying relative, correct, and they reside in your household.
Okay, so otherwise you would just click single.
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're
I have
welcome.
a question.
I have a question.
I have a question. If you're already taking out $58 out of your check every 2 weeks, how would you calculate that to accumulate for what you want to take an extra for fixed income person with no dependent?
I would advise you to update your W-4P form with GERS, and you could also speak to your tax preparer based on your annual annuity amount, and your tax preparer will be able to determine the amount of withholdings that will be deducted weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly.
Because how soon will the tax form come up for you to fill out this form to get into your on time?
Remember, this form is going forward. It's not for last tax year. It's not for the 2022 tax year. It's for the 2023 tax year that you will file 2024.
Oh, Lord Jesus, have mercy on us. Because
Can
this,
it's going forward.
I
When
have
Quick question.
I
when
have
will
a
One moment.
question.
One
Where
moment.
should we send the form? Should we send it to GERS or BIR?
GERS.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Ms.
when
Turnbull,
will the oh,
a
no.
question? Ms. Turnbull?
Yes.
A
The
question?
question is on for Ms. Turnbull. If you have two pensions, would the 12% on the first and then within the 16,000 to the 49,000 applies to the first amount, and then also portion W-4P on the step 2 and step, what is that other step, Ms. Turnbull? 4 would apply on that second amount? Is that correct?
If Ms. Turnbull has two pensions, the W-4P could be updated for GERS. And if she would like to update the W-4P for the additional pension that she receives, she could do such. The section 2 on the W-4P is if she's receiving pension, another pension, and that amount, there are no withholdings being withheld from that amount.
Okay. Gotcha.
Then GERS will now take an additional withholding because she has income and no withholdings are being reduced from that.
So the 12 and 12. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for joining us today, everyone. I want to thank you for your questions, your thoughtfulness, for paying attention, and the expert that they sent us, Ms. Smith from IRB, to provide us this valuable information. Again, the GRS is available at 340-693-3939, or you can reach us by customer care at usvigers.com. Thank you again for being here today.
Just a moment. I have an important question for 2022. I was looking on the site to try and get it answered, but I'm unable to. My husband passed away in July of 2022, and I did not receive a 1099 for him for 2022 from GERS. His pension stopped in by the 10th of July. I'm not sure what to do about the 1099. I'm sorry. I had thought that I could go to GERS. I still have his login information. I'm looking, I don't see a place to download a 1099 for him for 2022, and I'm not sure what to do. He only received pension funds for, let's say, 6 1/4 month. Is it relevant? Do I need to be concerned in filing for 2022? Okay, I guess.
The 1099s are not due to the taxpaying public as yet. So you still have time to receive the 1099 for tax year 2022.
Oh, okay. So I guess that's why, because I thought I would get it in the mail and it didn't come.
The
Sorry.
last date by January 31st, you should have it. So it's not January 31st, so you still have a few weeks to wait or days.
Okay, so that would be true also of his Social Security 1099, I guess.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
All entities have until January 31st to mail those documents to you so you could prepare your income taxes to be filed this year.
Suppose I don't get it. I'm planning to travel on the 5th of February. Suppose I don't get it by then.
If you do not receive it by January 31st, you could call GERS and inquire.
Okay. All right, then. Thank you very much. It's just so much to process. Complicated business.
I understand, but if anyone have any additional questions after the end of the seminar, my contact information is on the screen, 715-1040, extension 2276. You could also send me an email, losmith@irb.gov.vi, or you could call our offices and our staff will be happy to assist you. Also, I would like to remind the public that our tax date this year is Tuesday, April 18th, 2023.
Okay.
Thank
All right,
you
thank
so
you.
much. Thank you, Ms. Davis.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Have a pleasant day.
And this form, the new W-4P form, you said it's not for the 2022 tax year, it's for the 2023 tax year, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so we're really doing this in advance.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me.
Have a good day, Ms. Smith. The
Ms. Smith,
presentation
can
will
you put
end now.
back up your personal information?
This is confusing, man.
Ms. Smith, share your personal information screen before we end the presentation, please. You could share that slide.
Sure. My contact information is on the screen. Also, our staff here at the Bureau will be happy to assist you.
All right, thank you so much. Have a blessed day.
If you're hearing me, I came on at 11, not in this, I'm in the States and not understanding and realizing that you're an hour ahead of me. So I'm not sure. I just caught the W-4P form. So if I call this 693 number, will they be able to assist me in what I need to fill out since I'm a whole hour off?
Correct. You could.
I'm 2 hours ahead.
Yes, you could call the GRS. You could also call IRB. We'll be happy to assist you.
Okay, and your number that I'm seeing now is the IRB number?
Yes, IRB's telephone number is 340-715-1040. That's the St. Thomas St. John District on St. Croix. Our office number is 340-773-1040. On the screen, it is my extension 2276. And if you would like to send an email, my email address is also on the screen.
So if I emailed you, then I would be able to, well.
Yeah, if you email me, I will respond. I will respond to you. If you email, make sure you have your telephone number and I will contact you.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Smith.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you for the information.
Mm-hmm.